In the setting sun, Isley's looked the same as it always had, and it bothered Brian one of his favorite places turned out to be a den of those in league with a murderer. They had been so nice to him, fed him, and made sure he learned how to take care of himself, when God had left him to his own devices. Mr. and Mrs. Isley became like surrogate parents when Brian needed someone, anyone, to care whether he lived or died. How could they turn out to be ones who would attack Madison and him over breakfast?
You better be right about this, Brinkley.
Lambert grunted as they waited for a warrant. Uriel knew a great deal about the human law enforcement procedures and had called upon someone he knew, a judge, to make everything legal from the detective's standing. Brian could have cared less. He intended to bust in, beat the hell out of Mr. Isley, and find out where Mastema rose from hell. I already told you. The Isleys shot at us and said they were working with Mastema. He hated repeating himself, but the cop hadn't put him in handcuffs yet, so something had convinced him for the time being.
We've had these people under surveillance off and on for years, for everything from drug trafficking to prostitution. Never got a charge to stick. They take these young kids in, feed them, love them, and sell them like slaves to the highest bidder.
Lambert's words stopped Brian in his tracks. They always seemed like nice people, right up until the day they riddled me with bullets and threatened Madison's life.
We haven't been able to get a warrant to search the place. They have friends in high places.
He gave the nod they'd waited all day for. Uriel caught up to them as Lambert had spoken.
Lucky for you, we're in tight with the man upstairs.
Brian found Uriel's words ridiculously funny and laughed, despite the obvious need for silence as they rounded on the front door. Gabriel and Raphael had already secured the back entrance.
On three.
Lambert said.
One.
Brian and Uriel stood on either side of the door.
Two.
They turned to face the entrance as they flanked Detective Lambert.
Three.
The policeman broke open the door with a powerful kick.
Aren't you supposed to announce yourself first?
Uriel asked.
Yup.
The detective answered. Brian shrugged and they rushed through the entrance of the empty store. The darkness swirled around his feet and tugged at his soul. Uriel must have felt it too, because he whipped his flaming sword from behind his back and swung it high over his head.
What the hell?
Lambert said. Brian's instincts erupted at the same moment his wings stretched out from behind him. They both moved in to protect the mortal detective.
Stand down, detective. This is definitely not your battle.
Uriel spoke in a low, calm voice as the tendrils of inky black arms stretched out toward them.
Wings? Those are wings.
The detective said. Uriel, get him out of here. Brian commanded. He knew a trap when he saw one and would not have an innocent man's blood on his hands.
Don't do anything stupid. I'm coming back for you.
Uriel said. Brian didn't bother looking behind him to make sure the detective had left the building. He knew what he had to do and couldn't allow his brethren to be harmed. He knelt on one knee and placed his palm against the ground. The darkness swallowed it just as he knew it would. He pulled the darkness to him like a sponge. His inner light threatened to break loose, but he knew he had to hold on.
I said, let me go.
The detective yelled, and Brian knew Lambert's fragile human body could not withstand the sheer amount of evil waiting to prey upon a soul-bearing human. Detective, Brian called out.
Tell this moron to keep his paws off me or I'll bust his nose wide open.
The detective barked. Detective, I suggest you pray and do so now. Brian called upon the evil in the room. The shadows raced to him, and light began to infiltrate the dark abyss.
Brian, what are you doing?
Uriel shrieked. When Brian could withstand no more, he stood. The evil swirled within him, called to him, tugged at every emotional heartstring he had. It whispered promises of unspeakable pleasures and offered immeasurable wealth and power. His nerve endings erupted in a sensation he couldn't describe, and it brought him to his knees.
What have you done?
He looked at Uriel through the dark haze his vision had become. Brian staggered as he took a step toward the archangel, who appeared to have no idea how to handle Brian's actions. "I need your light," Brian whispered. "I can't get it all." Uriel took a step forward but stopped as if hesitant to do what Brian asked. The detective had no such reservations. He took Brian's hand and began to pray.
Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
The detective continued the prayer, and Brian absorbed the light his words created around them. He drew in the rest of the darkness in the room and then threw his head back. He roared toward the heavens to unleash the evil. The souls of those turned by demons shot forth from his mouth through the ceiling, ripping a giant hole in its wake. The debris fell all around him as the dark substance poured out of his throat. His light battled the darkness even though it threatened to linger within. His faith alone won against the promises of demons. There had been enough evil in that room to suck the light out of 4 angels. The Isleys had expected the archangels, but they had underestimated their newest member. Brian would not allow the taint of those who betrayed his lord to touch an innocent man who fought to protect the humans in his realm. He swore he would protect the humans in his path, and that included those who arrested him. After a few minutes no one spoke. Uriel looked at Brian as if he had never seen him before. Detective Lambert appeared at a loss for words. Brian hated being the center of attention.
"Whoa, what happened here?"
Gabriel said as he sauntered in the room. No one answered. Uriel continued to stare at Brian.
Well, if he's not going to ask, I sure as hell am. Did you just eat shadows?
Lambert asked. They would have crawled in through your pores and absorbed in your heart and soul. You would have become the very type of monster you are hunting. Brian said by way of explanation.
What are you?
Lambert asked.
Brian Samuel Brinkley.
Uriel snapped out of his fog and stalked toward Brian. He placed his hands on both sides of Brian's face and stared hard into his eyes. "Is it all out?" he asked. Brian shrugged.
It's fine, we have a job to do. How long have you been aware of your ability to absorb the darkness and release the souls?
Uriel asked. Gabriel released a slow whistle. "Look, I don't want to talk about it. I came here to find a way to get to Kennedy, and that's what I'm doing." Brian pulled away from Uriel's grasp and walked toward the kitchen. Lambert caught up to him but didn't say anything. Brian appreciated his silence even though he knew the detective had questions. "We're looking for ceremonial markers. You would call them signs of the occult. Pentagrams, black candles, something that would be used to open a portal." Brian turned on the lights and stood in the kitchen, which held bittersweet memories.
Your buddies don't seem too keen on what you just did.
Lambert observed. Brian didn't say anything. What could he say that would make sense to a human detective, when Brian had spent a lifetime wondering why he could absorb evil and transcend it to light when no other angel in history could make the same claim?
The wings are going to prevent you from blending in, should we come upon opposition.
Brian grunted in response as he pulled his wings in.
So, you are an angel?
Lambert asked. "Yeah."
Damn, I guess I'll need another murder suspect.
Brian shook his head and went through a door off the left side of the kitchen behind baking racks. When the doorknob refused to open, he jammed his shoulder against it. It took 2 hard hits, but it swung open and revealed Mrs. Isley at an altar stained with what looked to be blood.
I got this,
Lambert said. As he read her the Miranda rights, the detective hauled her up off the ground and dragged her out of the kitchen. Brian smashed the altar. He let the remnants of evil flow through him to empower him as he attacked the items which mocked the very light he lived for. A rage came over him and consumed his thoughts. He destroyed everything in his path.
Stop, my brother.
Brian turned and saw Raphael. He blinked and tried to overcome the anger that erupted within his soul. "Leave me," he demanded. Brian began to panic. He'd never experienced an attack upon his soul before. The lingering darkness seemed to feed upon his attempts to cleanse it.
Hold him.
Raphael yelled. Brian fought hard as hands gripped him. He punched at a blurry face that appeared before his and kicked at air. The anger consumed him. The copper taste of blood filled his mouth, and he spit out the vile substance as he thrashed against the ground.
Brian.
Madison's voice washed over him and gave him the anchor his soul needed. "Madison, I can't fight this. It's so strong."
Hold my hand.
A glowing hand appeared before his face, and he reached for it. The scent of jasmine tickled his sense, and it reminded him of her shampoo. She gave him the strength he needed to battle the darkness attacking him from within. After a while, his breath returned to normal, and his heart rate slowed. He opened his eyes and saw the archangels he admired staring down at him with a mixture of confusion and concern.
I think you broke my nose.
Brian picked himself up off the ground without the help of Raphael's outstretched hand. He couldn't bear to see a look of repulsion from one of the men he wished to be as a child. Unable to handle the scrutiny, he broke through the circle of men and started toward the door.
Hello, we're still huddling.
Gabriel called out. Brian stopped but didn't turn.
We don't kick you out of our God squad for being different.
Uriel said in a gentle tone. His words acted as balm to his savaged pride and caused him to turn and face the group of men he wanted to be a part of.
What if the difference is species?
Lambert's voice rang out from behind Brian as he walked to his side.
Only Raphael can approve a new addition.
Gabriel said. They all turned toward the quieter angel.
We serve him to save the innocent. There are no coincidences. Mastema chose this town under the detective's jurisdiction. Carl Lambert will serve at our sides as a brother.
Can we huddle now? There's a crazy chick in the back seat of a squad car. Madison is blowing up Uriel's phone demanding to know why she connected with Brian, and this place is giving me the creeps.
Both Brian and Lambert joined the inner circle of the archangels.